Welcome to Lesson 4 of Section 2 of Hope, where you have been learning some essential steps in preparing to heal. At the end of each section of video teaching and learning in the Hope series, there will be a lesson like this one titled Reflections and Activities for Healing. These lessons will ask you to spend some additional time during the week reflecting on what you have learned and provide you with specific activities designed to help you heal and grow. When you have completed the reflections and activities, you can post them on the private community page for additional thoughts, supports, or encouragement from me or others in the group. Here are the questions for reflection and activities for healing you will find in the guide attached to this lesson. Please ask any questions you have for me in the private community. After completing this first section of the program, what do you think about the metaphor of emotional wounds and how it relates to trauma and your personal journey? Also, how have you experienced help or healing in the past for an emotional hurt through the different kinds of treatment that we described that we need as people? What about that experience was helpful? What was not? And why? Also, in what ways can you identify with the natural way we tend to respond to emotional wounds that was discussed in Lesson 3? Identify several ways you have done this in the past or think you are doing it now in regard to how you respond to your trauma or emotional wounds. Also, sometimes even if we wanted to heal in the past, maybe we could not because either the right kind of treatment wasn't available at the time or because we continued to be in a wounding environment. In what ways have you been or were you unable to heal because of continuing unhealthy environment? What has happened to get you to the place of seeking healing and treatment now? Are you still in an unhealthy environment? How do you think that will affect your healing going forward? Also, as we went through this list of unhealthy ways we sometimes respond to emotions and pain from the past, you reflected a little bit on a list and checked the boxes. Before you move forward, go back to the list and again place a check mark by the ways you tend to use or avoid emotional pain the most. Then explain in the lesson how these created or continue to create more problems or have prevented you from healing so far. Now let's review a few specific exercises for recovery that you can complete during the week. First, write down any fears you have about uncovering your emotional wounds and trauma and letting God clean them out so they can heal. It's natural for us to be afraid of getting the treatment, as we mentioned in the lesson, that maybe it will cause more pain temporarily or we don't know what to expect. What are your fears? Write some of them down honestly and specifically. Next, identify and list specific ways you can build a safer environment or better staff your hospital, so to speak, to help your healing process as you move ahead. Identify and list both people and or resources in your situation outside of the HOPE program that could use in the weeks ahead if you need to. This can help you to plan for additional support or resources you may need and build your sense of support and healing going forward. Next, with all honesty, ask yourself the question, do I really want to heal and get better? Maybe you've been living with your wounds for so long, you're not sure how to live without them. That's understandable, but don't let that get in your way. Commit right now to doing whatever it takes to get better. You've already invested in this program and committed your time to making it work. If you are having a hard time saying this commitment out loud, ask yourself if you're willing to be made willing. Then ask God to make you willing. God is bigger than even our own decisions, and if we ask Him to help us, He can help us even to be willing and move forward with the hard things that we need to do to heal. Regardless of how you feel, I encourage you to read the statement below out loud and sign it in your guide as a way of giving yourself permission and declaring that you are ready to heal and willing. I commit as of today to do whatever it takes to get better. I am determined to move forward with my life and will actively seek the help and treatment I need from God and others to recover from my emotional pain and problem behaviors because I know God wants better for me, my family, and my relationships. In Section 2, you have learned about the importance of the heart and how God designed it to work. You also learned about the reality of emotional wounds, how they work, and how we often avoid dealing with them. You also gained an overview of the healing process and the steps we will be exploring in the sessions ahead. In Section 3, we will look at symptoms of trauma and specifically the role that trauma and emotional wounds of different kinds can play in your current emotional problems and struggles. Remember to complete your workbook assignments and post them in the private community before moving on to the next lesson. I look forward to hearing your insights about what you've learned so far. See you in Section 3.